Hello and welcome back to the Villa Filler podcast. I'm here, as always, with my good friend Dan Weissman. Dan, how you doing, bro?
Not bad, mate. Serious deja vu right now. Serious deja vu. Burnley previews again, mate. This is nuts.
I know. How can we? It's unacceptable. For this reason alone, Burnley should be relegated to the Championship, making us wait this long to play them in a season twice. But before we get into what will be a bit shorter match preview than usual, we have a word from today's video sponsor. This video is sponsored by the wonderful guys over at OneFootball. It is the place to get all of the most up-to-date football news, scores, articles, live updates. You couldn't ask for more. Dan, we use this app every single day of our lives, and they've been kind enough to sponsor us here at the Villa Filler again.
Yeah, it powers the podcast, mate. It's my go-to place for live scores, stats, and news from 200 leagues, 12 different languages. It's got the lot, mate.
So, guys, if you check out OneFootball using the link in the top of the description, it'll help us out, it'll help you guys out, and it'll help you just enjoy the game that little bit more. Be like Dan and I, download OneFootball. So, guys, if you haven't checked out OneFootball, make sure you do so. It's in the top link in the description. You guys know the score. Dan, Burnley. I mean, it's not so long ago this fixture got played, mate. It was, I want to say, a near perfect performance, all bar the late goal that we actually conceded there. But other than that, that Burnley, as you said in your preview, mate, because I think you actually covered this one solo, didn't you? Since Mike Jackson's come in, they've actually looked all right, and it's kind of a weird one because on the outside you would have thought, why would you get rid of Sean Dyche? But they seem to have improved, and maybe it's that sort of new, I don't want to say new manager bounce because he was always around, and Ben Mee's there as well. But sometimes just hearing a different voice in the short term can help out, really, can't it?
Oh, 100%, mate. I mean, before we played them, they were on a streak of having won 3 games in a row, which, I mean, doesn't sound like crazy and like anything, but we know more than anyone how difficult it can be to put a streak together in this league. We found it's basically the reason where we are in the league is just that we can't manage to find any form of consistency. They weren't very good against us, but then they went and rectified that with what was a really promising performance against Spurs, and they were undone really by quite an unlucky penalty, and that turned out to be the only goal of the game. They had some good chances and quite easily could have come away from North London with at least a point. So, I mean, we have a very unique situation this week where we're sort of kingmakers. We can decide basically who goes down and then who wins the league at the weekend. So Villa are a hot topic at the top and bottom of the table, mate. And I mean, I don't think we can write this game off just because we beat today. I said, we're going to have to match them for intensity and desire, and if that was the case then, it's even more the case now because their situation is even more desperate. As we inch towards the end of the season, they're the ones in the drop zone as we speak. So, mate, it's going to be a good game.
It really is. And their last game against Spurs, I mean, only losing that 1-0 to what was, I want to say, a very dubious penalty decision, mate. I can see why it was given, but it's one of them modern day sort of ball to hand, hand to ball claims. You can argue that one forever, I think, and ultimately, I don't think you could come to a conclusion just because of how inconsistent the rules are. But they get that penalty in the 8th minute of added time in the first half, and it just really sucker punched them, really. And obviously, Spurs right now have a lot to play for with that sort of top 4 seemingly just one game away. All they've got to do is beat Norwich. So. That was quite an important 3 points from Tottenham, and Burnley. Obviously, for it to come down to this and Newcastle at home on the final day, it's not looking very good for Burnley, is it, mate? Because Newcastle looked absolutely phenomenal against Arsenal the other night. Arsenal were genuinely atrocious, but that we got to give Newcastle the flowers there, mate. So it's difficult to see where Burnley can pick the points up here, mate. It's going to be, it's awful, mate. It's this time of year, it's awful. Like looking at the bottom of the table, I think it will be Leeds that go, if I'm honest. I know you share the same sentiment, mate, but it's hard to imagine Burnley picking up points in the next 2 games, or a sufficient amount of points at least.
Oh, mate, it's going to be box office, the bottom end of this table. I mean, we play on the Thursday, obviously against Burnley, as do Everton. They've got Crystal Palace at home before we go into the final day. As you say, Burnley playing Newcastle. That is a tough game, mate. That is a really tough game. Everton are away at Arsenal and Leeds are away at Brentford. So, I mean, man, that is going to go right down to the wire. And I mean, there is almost an anarchist in me that thinks, well, if we do drop points, man, that's going to make that final day so interesting. It's going to make it so interesting. Obviously, I don't want that to happen. Maybe we want the Villa to finish on as many points as possible. But there is a silver lining in that if Burnley do get anything from Villa Park on Thursday night, then, mate, it's going to ramp up that final day of the season just up a notch. Yeah, mate, I think, as you say, we all had to eat a bit of humble pie regarding Sean Dyche, and we have to commend the job that Mike Jackson's done and everything like that. They've returned to being a team that are really hard to beat. And, I dare say that since they sacked Dyche, we've probably had the most convincing performance against them. Is that fair to say? I think, you look at the sides that have gone, I referenced in the other preview that Man City only put 2 past them. Since they beat Watford, beat Wolves, beat Southampton, drew with West Ham. They've picked up a lot of good results, and I think we've actually made the easiest of Burnley. So that should provide some confidence, I think, going into this one.
For sure. And looking at the lineup that played against Tottenham, obviously Maxwell Cornet was kind of coming back from injury, and he obviously came on and scored against us. Started in this game, that's going to be absolutely massive. Started up front with Ashley Barnes. I find it very hard to believe that Wout Weghorst, who is a player I just adore so much. I think he's a phenomenal striker. I have so much time with Wout Weghorst. I find it really baffling that he's finding himself on the bench, mate, when Burnley needs him. And I know he's new to the league, and I think he's had a few injury niggles here and there. But it doesn't get more, I think, new age Burnley than signing Wout Weghorst, because you've got the best of the old school pump it up long, hold up play, target man. But Wout's a finisher as well. He has a very respectable goal record in the Bundesliga. For me, mate, I find it mental that Ashley Barnes is still playing Premier League football in 2022. You gotta tip your hat to the man. But you'd imagine that the key to Burnley really getting the most out of this game against us, mate, is to almost play Cornet off Weghorst, because I think we've seen when Mings gets dragged into a physical battle, I think, Romelu Lukaku is probably a perfect example, mate. The concentration can go. And I think if Burnley are to get anything from that, you need to old school Burnleyers. You need to play them balls up long. Weghorst needs to be troubling Mings, and it looks like it's probably going to be Chambers after Ezri's horrendous, what looks like ACL injury potentially. That's going to be how Burnley gets something from this game, mate, surely, right?
Yeah, 100%, mate. I mean, Weghorst is a really interesting one, because I was convinced when they sold Chris Wood that they'd landed on their feet. I was like, you've sold Chris Wood and you've bought a better version of him for a smaller fee. I was like, that's a win-win. Well done. Like, you nailed it. It hasn't quite been, you're right in that. I sort of was researching him before the game, as you say, what was he picked up an injury? Like, what's there been like a spat? Like, why is he just on the bench? I think it's just poor form. He's got one in his last 14. He started quite brightly, and you're right, mate. And you sort of do feel that if Burnley are the team that go down, man, he's going to be a menace in the Championship.
Yeah.
He is going to be a menace in that league. My God. So, yeah, it'd be really interesting to see how they line up. I mean, as you say, I do think he could be a real asset against this Villa back line. Looks like Chambers will come in based on Ezri's knock. And, Stevie said we aren't likely to see him. And that gives me some assurance, because I still maintain that we've been at our best defensively with Chambers on the pitch. So I'm looking forward to seeing him get a full 90 in what's going to be the final home game. But yeah, I mean, recent team selection will tell you that we're not going to see Weghorst, mate. And whilst Cornet is going to be a problem, he always is. You're probably right in saying that maybe we've dodged a bullet there, because it doesn't look like he's going to start.
No, it's a weird one, mate. It's a weird one. And there's been a lot of talk about Josh Brownhill and the Villa as well. So it'd be nice to get to see him again, sort of up close and personal. I think there is a player there. It's probably not enough in it to do a transfer rumor, mate. And I mean, the profile certainly isn't there, Josh. Absolutely no disrespect intended whatsoever. But the Villa fill these views right now, and quite frankly, you are not going to provide them unless you just get signed out of nowhere. But mate, it kind of on the subject of selection and how Villa are going to line up coming into this game. It's fairly boring, isn't it, mate? You just know it's going to be the same team. We know, it's going to be great to see Marv come back, but it looks like it'll be the two up front again. Phil will probably start over Emi just because that's Gerrard's preference, and it's kind of like do something different, Villa. Give us something to talk about, please. That this is going to be a very short preview. It's going to have to be, but I mean, the team that we fielded last time round, mate, is certainly good enough to get all 3 points here, surely.
Well, yeah, mate, and Buendia was at the heart of it. So if he's got a case to start any game, surely it's this one,
Yeah, I mean, for sure, justice for Emi. Like, let's get the Argentina flags out. It's just frustrating, isn't it, mate? But I get it.
It was one of the loudest cheers of the game the other day, wasn't it? When Emi went out to warm up, the chants got started and everything. So they're well aware that we want to see him. So hopefully.
We can hope, mate. We can hope. But, it'd be nice to see. I mean, I imagine JJ, mate, actually come back into the fold, actually. I thought we looked quite good when he came on the other day. But, you've got the likes of Carney. I imagine if we see him, then that could be some good news in regards to the contract talks. It'd be good to see Tim as well. I think if Villa are in a position where we're winning this game, mate, obviously we know Marv he's not making full 90s at the moment. So to see Tim come on for another sort of 20, 25 minutes, that'd be really nice, wouldn't it, man?
Yeah, 100%, man. I mean, it's going to be a nice little, hopefully, we get a chance to sort of throw a few people on, give people some credit for the hard work. Hopefully we're in a position to do that maybe in the second half, to put on the likes of Carney and stuff like that. If talks are progressing on a new deal, I've got a good feeling about that all of a sudden. It feels like a little bit of positivity has been sprinkled upon that with, the image that the club chose to post the other day of Gerrard with his arm around Carney. And, people are like, oh, you can't read into that. It's just an image. And I was like, yeah, but you do, like, they're going to take 200, 300 photos of every single training session. And they chose, like, they will be so particular with the images that they choose. So to choose that one, I think means something. So yeah, hopefully we get some good news on that. And that's an episode we can do, mate. I'd love to Absolutely. Give Carney a full episode.
He deserves it. But guys, we both work in social, so take it from us. They don't do this by accident. Like, this is 100% thought and planned out. So yeah, hopefully there's some good news on that. And mate, we've been blessed really. 2 games under the lights in a row almost. Within successive weeks. They're the best vibes, especially this time of the season. I know there's not a lot to play for, but personally for me, end of the season, start of the season, the weather's beautiful. Villa Park's just a fantastic place to be at this time of year. So hopefully 3 points can match the vibes coming into this one. Guys, if you haven't subscribed, make sure you do so. It'd be nice if we could hit 5.5K before the end of the season. I appreciate we have like 2 games left, not even now. And that's like 300 subscribers, but it would mean the most if you are watching this and not subscribed, if you hit the button and the bell icon so you never miss an update from us here at the Villa Filler or the Villa.